Okay, welcome to the March 4th, 2024 meeting of the Yarmouth Board of Health. And as usual, let's start with attendance. Eric, are you present?
Present.
Larry, you present?
Present.
Charlie?
Present.
Mary? I don't think she is. I'm Hillard and I'm present, so we certainly have quorum here. Just to let you know, once again, this is a hybrid participation meeting, which means you can Zoom in or attend the meeting in town hall. All the instructions are well documented on the website of how to get on. So, okay, public comment is usually what we start with for these meetings. And anyone here would like to come forward? Or anyone calling in from home or wherever? Anybody see any hands up there?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any audio coming through. So if you could give me just a moment to troubleshoot that.
That doesn't bother you, just keep going anyway. Let me know. So. All right, that was just practice. Are we able to tell on there whether we're live? I mean, with,
Guy out back. And he handles all that.
were you saying something?
I was just curious if there was a hand up, how would anybody know?
Usually on there, someone can raise their hand, I believe. You see it up there. So of the 6 people, 7 people up here, one person will see it. So that's helpful if anyone does. Hey, Mary. No, we had a false start. We were about 5 minutes into it and then we were told there's no audio. So we're gonna start all over again. You're not late at all. Hey.
What have you been up to, Charlie? Trying to stay out of trouble. Yeah. Trying to rehab. Staying out too late at night? No. Worry about that. Yeah. Trying to get this damn hip to heal. Oh, boy. The chair muscles, it takes a long time for it to heal back. He said it'd be 6 months to a year. In 8 months now, I've still got the cane, so. Yeah. Plugging away. Plugging away. Oh, yeah. Physical therapy, right? So yeah.
I think we have about 2 minutes. We have about 2 minutes.
We can make that happen.
You go
Sure.
fast.
And more.
23 White's Path.
Good time.
Karen, she's the best. Is she? Good. She go. Good. Not only that's what she does 2 days a week.
What's
She
up with
comes over
Hannah?
to my house and does physical therapy, laser therapy on one of my dogs. It's yeah, oh, wonderful. Planning, making a hell of a difference. Yeah, good.
This is okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dogs.
We're still doing that.
Pit bull, half black
Oh,
lab.
no, so
That's what I thought.
No,
Another one,
planning our
half pit bull, half bull master.
Okay.
That's going
I
through.
asked how she was. Then.
He's doing.
I don't know how you were doing,
Full master.
but teaching wise, yeah. We can get back to the marriage thing after, but no.
Oh, yeah.
She's doing. I don't have I don't have TV audio, but we are still recording via Zoom and YouTube. So if you would like to continue the meeting that way, we'll still have the recording.
Okay.
That's the best I can do right now.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. We don't have a choice. I'm just waiting for Mary to come back.
Perfect. Yeah, our Zoom participants can definitely hear us.
Can they talk to us?
They should be able to talk to us. just
Okay.
fine.
That's all I.
Live at this moment.
We are live.
So we're just gonna wait for Mary to come back. And we can take attendance again.
Eric, are you teaching now? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
cut tech,
look who's smiling about it too. Yeah,
2 years in.
oh, good for you. Cool deal.
Yeah, it's fun. Most of the time.
Yeah, I can, yeah, it's a challenge, but sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah. You don't get bored with it, it's,
Every day is different, huh? Cool deal. Is that what you were doing, sort of capabilities with teaching construction and things, or?
sort of, yeah, I mean.
Occupational.
Doing a lot of, well, we had the greenhouses there, so. Running the greenhouses, but helping the participants to raise plants. So, yeah, similar role. I'm in horticulture now, so. I get to be outside every day, which is nice.
Good. Some days,
Yeah.
days can be a bit much. Okay.
Mary, just to let you know, we're live at the moment. There was an audio problem, and so we're gonna just keep going. Apparently, people have been able to hear us who have zoomed in. All right, so Mary's present here at the meeting. We're still gonna continue. So once again, anyone public comment out there? I guess not. Okay. Second item is discussion on garbage disposal request. And that's an issue at 7 Forest Gate, which is at King's Circuit, which is King's Way. In your packet, you'll see that there is one letter. And that's what we're addressing tonight. Barry, there's some information you can provide for us. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. This was brought to our attention by a plumber that was working on the home. He would not fix the disposal because they're not allowed. There wasn't, the septic system is designed for one, so Patrice reached out to me. I let her know that it wasn't allowed. She clearly wrote a very nice, well-written letter that she is older, has some medical issues, and being part of that, a garbage grinder is needed for her. It's their septic system at Kingsway. There is a big shared system. And it is not designed for a garbage grinder per state CRM Title V regulations. And also Kingsway Complex, their board does not allow garbage grinders in their homes either. So it's
Okay. I agree that it's a well-written letter.
She said that
Information.
the garbage disposal was there from the beginning, 25 years ago when she first.
yeah, we come across that a lot. You can buy them at Ace Hardware, you can buy them anywhere, and people put them in without permits and stuff. So I'm sure it's been there for a long time.
Has she been using it all this time?
Yes, ma'am.
She has.
Yes, ma'am. So the garbage grinders, I'll give you a little history on what happens with them. They grind the food and the particles up very small. There's 3 sections of a septic tank. There's a top layer, which is a scum layer, the middle, which is the affluent water, and then the bottom is a sludge layer. The sludge is where everything kind of settles. Top is where, so there, it's in between it. So when the garbage grinder grinds up the particles, it stays in that affluent area, and that gets transferred into the elbow into the D box out to the system, which clogs the system and the soil absorption system. That's why they're not good for the environment. So that's why they're not allowed.
Doesn't go down to the sludge area.
No, it grinds up fine enough that it's in a floating state. That's the same with like we've come across like a sandy flow toilets and people putting in basement bathrooms. has to be an injector pump, not a grinder pump. So the garbage grinder falls underneath kind of the same category.
Well, I mean, what's our authority here? I mean, that's what it comes down to, I think. I mean, it's interesting. There's a set of town regs, I assume, and there's Kings Way
State regs also.
and state. And what does the state say?
It has to be a multiple compartment tank, and the system has to be designed for it, and those systems are not designed for garbage grinder. Because what it does, it has to be in a multiple compartment tank. That effluent will stay in that first tank, and then if it does go into the second tank, that's a preventive measure for getting it to the end tank. And she can upgrade the entire system if she would like to keep her garbage grinder, I guess, so.
How many other garbage grinders are there?
That I don't know. It's Kingway regulates it, but they don't go and check, they said. So,
So you spoke to the people at Kingsway?
yes, Jay did. Jay had spoken with them, so.
Do they have a request that she remove it, the Kingsway?
I think so, yes. Because again, their bylaws state no garbage grinders allowed, so.
I don't know if we can overwrite, the, King's Way. I mean, if that's their rule, I don't know if we would be able to,
Right.
overwrite that.
Yeah,
Kind of.
we are the authority to probably do that, but I'm sure there's a lot of other homes in town that have lots of garbage grinders that we might be opening up a garbage grinder variance every twice a month, so.
Well, she
So-
might have to have more than one bag of garbage a
Yeah.
week, I guess.
I mean, with private homes, it's up to you, the person who owns a home, right?
If most, when I review septic plans and permits, I would say 99.9% of all my plans, all of them come across with that says no garbage grinder allowed.
Exactly. Yep. We see that all the time when they
Yep.
come to us.
It's
Yep.
just, again, they're not good for the system itself.
My son and daughter-in-law live in Braintree and they've been asked not to use garbage disposals there.
Yep.
Just kind of interesting. They don't have septic.
Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot we can
Mm-mm.
offer here.
No.
For her to get removed, she'll need a licensed plumber and pull a plumbing permit. Also, just,
Well, I don't think she needs to remove it.
Okay.
I mean, that's not, certainly wouldn't be my intention that she would have to remove it, but yeah, I don't think we can do anything about permitting her to have it.
So you're saying you're feeling she doesn't need to remove it, it's not using it or removing
Just
it?
not use it, right?
Huh.
I mean, it's already a burden for her to not be able to use it. And then on top of that, to have to remove it. When Kingsway hasn't done anything about it, that it's been in there for 25 years, according to her. And there's probably others there. I mean, I think that's a bit much.
Yeah, when it was bought, I don't know who, I would assume Kingsway looks at these places.
She
and
said from the
neglected
original
to-
construction.
Yeah, neglected to do anything. So, I mean, I feel fine with that also, Mary. I don't know what she's gonna do with her garbage, but that's something we can't help her out on,
Well,
I
no,
guess.
she said she has one bag now, so she'll
Yeah.
just have to have another bag. It will take another bag or so, but not a whole lot. For one person is my guess.
So how do we how do we go about this? In other words, I mean, we have, well, two people have an opinion. I haven't heard from the other three people here about what to do here.
So it's operational now? It's
Yes.
been repaired and operational?
I don't know if it's been repaired. The original plumber would not repair it, so I have not heard if it's been repaired or not yet, so.
I mean, it's not a legal issue for us. We can tell her not to use it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Eric, how do you feel? Charlie?
I would agree with that. I mean, I think it's a little much to order her to incur the cost of removing it and pulling a permit, you know?
Right. That's my feeling. At some point, there may be a new owner there, I suppose, and at that point, maybe. Charlie, what do you think?
Oh, from this letter, this thing was operational for 25 years?
Mhm.
That's what it sounds like, yes, sir.
Who decided it was supposed to be non-operational?
The plumber went in when it was not working and said that he couldn't replace it because they're not allowed.
All right, so would it just discontinue the use of it now, or you gotta have it pulled out, or what are we talking about here?
That's what we're talking about, what we're gonna do. And we were saying, I think Eric and I and Hillard, and haven't heard from Larry on the specific issue, said that we don't see the need to have her take it out. That seems a bit much. If it's not operational now, it's kind of a non-issue that we just say, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
the reason that it's.
Could deal with that.
So it has to be cleaned out now. There's obviously a receptacle there that's just not functional. Is that correct?
I would guess so, yes, sir.
You'd have to keep that cleaned out.
Yeah.
Well, the regular water from the faucet, the kitchen sink faucet would go down, right down through.
As long as it wasn't, as long
yeah.
as it's just water.
Right, yes, exactly, yeah.
You just want to get back to her? I mean, and just tell her what happened tonight? Just fill her in?
Just let her know that since it's not operational, we're not gonna enforce her removing it. I can't see what Kingsway might do, but
Right.
the Board of Health,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a significant expense that I'm sure she could do without. It's fine. Okay. Thank you. If you get back to her, then, okay, so next is number 3 here, and it's discussion again. There's one on human service grant applications, and it's open submissions. What this is about, Larry, is it's select board. Part of their budget is they allow for us to have a certain amount of money. It will vary year to year, and we can decide which organizations would benefit most from a health standpoint.
I think I came in on the back, the beginning of that last year.
Oh, okay.
So I recall that we're just going through that process.
Okay,
Last year.
and there have been some agencies, or a lot of them, been, on the list every year since I've been here. So what's on the agenda for tonight in reference to this?
So with the human grant service applications, it's not a renewal. It's gonna be available March 15th. There's gonna be 12 grants, open and a competitive available online process. The board will receive all the applications, review them and score them and award the grants to the recipients. The grants are due April 15th. Follow the movie. This is gonna be a very transparent, open process for anybody. So if anybody doesn't already have a grant and would like to apply for it, again, you can go online and the application is available. It's up on the board right now. You can see it. So we welcome everybody to apply.
I have a comment on the application.
Uh-huh.
About midway down, it says number of Yarmouth residents served. It doesn't say for what period of time. And I think it definitely needs to be specified for either the last fiscal year, but for whatever period of time they are saying
Good.
the number of Yarmouth residents were served.
Yes, ma'am.
So how were these organizations notified about this new process?
I think so, yes.
How were they?
I'm not for sure. Jay probably had that with him, so.
Okay, but they all, you're assuring us they have all been notified.
I would assume they have been. I don't want to say yes or no. I apologize.
And then how did you notify people that aren't on this list? I mean, how was this advertised?
Right now, we're telling the public right now that they can, the application's up and out there. It's available March 15th and it goes to April 15th to get the application in, so.
Well, seeing as how we don't have a huge audience out there, I'm wondering how other organizations that might be interested in applying for a grant are going to find out about this, because I don't think it's going to be by virtue of this meeting or recording of it.
And we can probably put it up on our website also, get that information out there. We can probably post it at the senior center and some other places, so.
Just to give you a little history, generally it's the same organizations year after year
Yeah.
after year.
Right. But who knows, there may be another organization out there.
For sure.
And like you said, this is going to be very transparent.
Yep.
Competitive. You know, it typically is, because typically the organizations will ask for additional money, not always, but, and so we have to kind of decide
Definitely.
with what money there is, how to distribute.
So Barry, I had a question. I had two actually. So these organizations don't have to be in the town to, get these grants. Is that correct? Okay.
Right, they have to serve town residents.
Okay,
Yes.
but they don't have to
No.
be in the town.
No.
No.
And the amount, is this what they're requesting in the red under each?
I think that's what they're granted each year.
Funding,
Okay, I see.
or this, for this year's FY 23-24.
So that amount at the top has to be divided amongst these individuals.
Yes.
And what's the yellow? What would the yellow underlined mean?
I think those are mandatory or committed. You know, the navigator and the nursing services,
You see,
those are separate. This is a separate contact.
does that come out of that?
Actually not. No, I think those are both separate. The recovery navigator is a separate grant, and
I
then the
see.
nursing services, like it says, is a separate contract.
Okay, so I'm not sure what this means then. So it's up on top, it's $10,000 navigator. So what does that mean? I see in the bottom is recovery navigator for 15,000. And as you know, you're pointing out yellow, and then there's the nursing services. So I'm not sure what's up with this. I know there was always a certain amount, was it 60 or $80,000 a year?
60 most recently.
Yeah. The 10 is an additional 10, Barry, do you know that or not?
I'm not for sure on that. I can look into that and let us find out.
Okay,
Okay,
please.
and once again, the numbers in red, is that people have already requested, or they are currently the previous year receiving that?
They're currently getting it.
Currently
23,
receiving
24.
from the.
Yeah.
One of the issues each time is whether to have people come in and make presentations. And that's up to us as a board. One thing we did is we limited the amount of time that each person come forward, because sometimes it would go on for a couple of hours, these meetings. So just to keep that in mind. But first thing is, do we want the organizations coming in to make a presentation? Do we want only the new ones or ones that have new projects? So that's for us to decide. What's going to help us make some decisions here. of how much and where the money should go.
There's nothing on this application that talks about program goals or evaluation. So for me, although I'm familiar with many of these because they have come before us over my tenure on the board,
Right.
especially if there were new ones, it would be difficult to make a decision based on this piece of paper filled out.
I agree.
So I would want to hear from at least the new ones, any new ones. And I would like to hear from any that are starting a new program. You know, have something in particular that they want to do with the money apart from what they've been doing with it before. If it's a new service or a new program.
Okay, so why don't we do that? And why don't you put a time limit? What do you think it should be for a presentation?
10 minutes.
That's good. Is that okay?
For each of these
Yeah.
organizations.
Right, and the question is over how many meetings? You want to do it all in one meeting? It may depend upon how many applicants there are, of course. So how do you want to handle that?
Well, again, it won't be every single one if they're just going to continue to do what they've been doing. But if they have something new they want to do that they want us to particularly hear about because it might bolster their application, then I think we need a couple meetings at least.
Somewhat.
2 meetings at least, I think it would
Okay.
take. But I don't know how many new people might apply. That's the only,
Do they have to reapply annually?
yes.
So scheduling wise, what does that mean for this to happen
Well-
before we need to make a decision?
Their applications are due by April 15th, so I would say the meeting, the next meeting after that, I'm not for sure what the date would be. We can review them. And then the following meeting after that, we can grant them.
So it may be a month from then if it ends up being two
Yes.
separate meetings because of the number of applicants that you receive.
Correct.
Okay, and there isn't a set deadline for us to distribute the money, I don't think.
No,
Okay,
This-
so they give us some flexibility. So why don't we go about it that way? People okay? Okay. It's not, it's nice we have that ability, that's all.
How'd we leave it? How are we gonna leave it then?
yeah, so they'll be due the 15th, and then the following meeting, we'll review the applications and we can, if they're
15th of March,
April,
April,
That's when the applications have to be in.
that's when they're due.
okay. So are there ever any groups or organizations that we would just renew automatically, or would each person start from scratch each year? As far as a grant,
We can decide
let's see,
the whole thing.
Yeah.
So just because someone's been getting it for
Yeah.
8 years, doesn't mean we have to give it again. That's really totally up to the board.
But they have to apply
right,
every year.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So to one point you said about the website to make sure people find out about it. I don't know how successful we'll be with that, but.
I'll work with Jay we'll make sure we get it out there, get it out to the public so they can find out about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so next is a discussion, that's number 4, everyone, that's on poultry regulations. This all came about a recent meeting we had, that a person in town was requesting a variance for having a rooster. And just looking over the regulations, we decided maybe it's time to take a look at the regulations again to see if there need to be any changes or not. Larry was very nice to step forward and willing to take a look at this. So you and Barry have met
So
to look at the information. You put together some suggestions for changing regulations. I see that was in the packet. Basically, there's a current copy of it. There are 2 other things. One said proposed regulations governing poultry, and the other one is proposed changes to existing regulations governing poultry. I wasn't sure what
Okay, so
have those relate to each other.
the first, when I went over all this and did a little background research, I did the proposed changes to existing regulations governing poultry. Then I went back through and just substituted each one of those 6 items as the new regulations.
Okay,
So in other words, the regulations governing poultry were my suggestions for a new outline. The proposed changes were just an initial outline. So those can be sort of basically disregarded because they've been incorporated into the regulations governing poultry that I proposed.
okay,
And then the main change that I made was in the setbacks. Because the setbacks of the old regulations were very arbitrary. In my opinion, were without merit. So my feeling was that basically the new setbacks should be consistent with the present town setbacks for an existing shed.
Hmm.
Because that's basically all it is. It's there's really no health implications to setbacks for a poultry coop, in my opinion.
right.
So basically, I think I included the present regulations for a shed. You know, the town regulations, so they wouldn't be, we would just incorporate those regulations into the new regulations governing poultry. Hope I'm making myself clear on that.
I'm not clear that, for example, on what we have, the regulations governing poultry.
You have the old ones.
Right.
Yes.
And-
Well, you see the setbacks.
No, I'm just talking in general.
Okay.
I understand that,
Okay.
that particular content, but I don't understand the methodology here. So I have a number 1 beside that last paragraph, and then I went to the number 1 here, and my assumption was that this replaced the one that was in the existing
It
regulation.
does.
It does.
It
Okay.
does on,
Okay,
with regard to pigeons. The number 1 is regard to pigeons.
yeah,
And so what I changed the wording on that.
Right.
To be more permissible, to be more consistent with reality of keeping pigeons.
right.
So you're saying that on the page that says proposed changes, that paragraph that has number 1,
Yes,
that paragraph essentially is just added on to the bottom of
it replaces
places.
the pigeon.
Right.
Paragraph.
Right,
Right,
okay, 1 for
right,
1, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's basically what each one of those circle
Exactly.
numbers does.
Okay,
Replaces
Right.
those paragraphs.
okay.
Okay, so we'll
Understand.
start at the top and work our
Okay.
way down. I had one question about. Okay, restrictions. So it's gonna stay that it's still unable to exceed 16 or not?
What?
No, no,
No, I
no.
didn't have a number.
It's all gone.
Right, so my
I didn't
concern
put a
is,
number.
previously it had been, I mean,
I
how do we
didn't really-
feel if it's 116 pigeons next door? How would you feel as a neighbor? In other words, do we need a limit or not?
Well, if they're kept properly, within reason, obviously 116 would be an extravagance, but
Uh-huh.
it's conceivably for somebody that's keeping pigeons, they might keep 40, 50 pigeons. And they wouldn't really be any more obtrusive than 15 pigeons would be if they're kept properly. That's why I didn't really specify a number. Obviously, the size of the loft would have to be increased. I mean,
Mary and I are familiar with this, having had one case a
Yeah.
number of years ago when we did a site visit. So we're actually knowledgeable about this a little bit.
Sure.
My gut feeling is it should be some number on it, because it could get out of control and it's one less thing to revisit if someone
Well,
wanted.
it would be contingent on the size of the loft, I think.
the loft would have to be appropriately sized, yes,
Correct.
but you don't want one that's sized for 116 pigeons either. Like you said, just,
Well, you could keep 116 pigeons, and if they're kept correctly, it would be very unobtrusive. It would be released separately, and
Right.
generally speaking, what happens with pigeons is you've got your breeders, your old bird flyers, and your young bird flyers, and all three groups are kept separately. So typically, a pigeon flyer might keep 10 pair of breeders, so that's 20 birds. His racing team, the old birds, might be 30 or 40 birds. And then your young bird team might be 60 birds. So you could really get up in the numbers without really being obtrusive.
I don't have a
with
problem
the
with it.
reality of it.
The issue is someone could have 2,500 to put some limit,
Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
whatever you think it should be is fine if it's,
Well, whatever I think it would be arbitrary.
okay,
Because it would be really contingent on their husbandry.
okay.
So I guess it's sort of like saying, in a sense, if you were a car dealer, how many cars you could keep on your lot.
Sure.
So to speak, I guess, I don't know if that's a good analogy or not, but 116 pigeons, if they're kept correctly,
Sure,
wouldn't be an outrageous number.
okay. I'm just trying to protect,
The issue would be where it would be located.
Okay.
Where the loft would be. For example, in the cities, they keep them on the rooftops. They keep them on these 3-decker homes where I grew up in Chelsea.
yes,
There were lofts kept up on the roof.
Yeah.
And they were very unobtrusive. People didn't, as a matter of fact, a lot of people just enjoyed seeing them out there flying. So it really depends on how they're kept.
Okay.
Now, even if you keep 25 birds, if they're not kept properly, they're gonna be a nuisance in the neighborhood.
Right.
Well, that's, I guess, the best way to describe it.
Charlie, Mary, Eric,
I mean, what we could do is have some sort of stipulation in there that when they came for a permit, we could have that discussion as far as number of birds at the time and what the size of their coop's gonna be and what their plan is.
okay,
Because, there are different types of pigeon facilities. There's racing pigeons, there's fancy pigeons. There's pigeons raised for consumption.
Sure.
So there's different ways you would keep pigeons.
people
From
eat.
my perspective, when I did this, I was thinking of racing pigeons.
People eat pigeons.
just for the
They
record.
do, You probably,
back-
without
okay.
knowing it, if you've seen squab on the menu, you might not order it, but
It
fine.
could be a pigeon.
it'd be a pigeon.
How,
Squab is a pigeon,
right, yes,
right?
right.
But that's just an example. I'm not saying
Right.
we would have any of that, but I mean, that's another issue, so.
Do these sites get inspected every year or not?
Yes, once a year.
So as long as I'm on the board, I'd be happy to help in that regard.
Yeah, once a year, Phil and I go out and inspect whether it's a chicken coop, pigeon coop,
Sure.
barns,
Mhm,
stuff like that, so.
And you count, right now, you count the pigeons.
Hmm.
And if there's more than 16, what do you do?
Do we have anybody in Yarmouth now that?
Yes,
pigeon-
there's
one
one
I know
house,
Yeah.
Pardon?
there's one house
Yes.
Near the police station.
Right.
across the street,
16?
right at that, yeah.
And there had been a complaint in the neighborhood actually
Right.
of the pigeons excreting on the roof. of the
Roosting,
neighbor.
yeah,
That's what
resting
the
on
guy
it.
That's-
claimed, but you go over there and look and there was nothing.
Nothing.
We didn't
No,
see anything.
no, we
all
didn't.
Went over.
It
And that's
wasn't-
stipulated,
right.
and that's could be a real issue if these birds aren't regulated, but it's amazing how you can train these birds to follow a training regimen.
Right.
Very trainable to do that,
Yeah, he showed us. It was kind of cool.
as long as he
Yeah.
consistently stuck to that protocol.
Well,
So I mean, we could have a sentence in there to addressing that concern of yours.
How would you, how, it would be my concern too. How would you word that?
Um, Well, as I wrote, the number of pigeons kept shall be in accordance with loft size, accepted standard of practice for maintaining good sanitary pigeon husbandry. So that was my thought when I put that sentence in.
So how would, say, Barry, or Phil, did you say goes out? How would they know? You know, if they came to a property and there were 40 pigeons, would they know what kind of loft size was required for good sanitary pigeon husbandry?
I got a feeling Barry would have a good sense
Well,
about.
I think they'd have a sense. I don't mean that, but
Yeah.
I just mean,
I mean, I guess if you want to stipulate size, we could. I could come up with a,
I'd
size.
probably feel better with that because I'd be willing certainly to have somebody come before us and ask for a variance.
okay, so basically to conform to that regulation, you'd basically want 3 separate sections. You'd need the breeding section, you'd need a old bird flying section, and then you need a young bird section. So very easy to stipulate a size of each one of those structures. Now, you could have one building and divide it in 3. You
Mhm.
could do it that way. But that would really depend on I think, the lot and how it's configured.
Is there some square footage per bird measurement that would be
Really, I mean, that you certainly
acceptable?
would want to avoid overcrowding. I think it's kind of similar to chickens, you know? Yeah, I don't know if I could look and see if there is any documented number. I don't think there is that I recall.
Hey, the term often used is best practice.
Well, I think that's sort of
Yeah,
accepted
true.
standard
Yeah.
practice is sort of how I put it.
Right, standard practice,
Yeah.
yeah.
It would be your judgment if you felt it wasn't being met when you do an inspection.
And then we could bring them in front of the board, we could bring the board there and
Yeah, we
Yeah.
could
Inspection.
review the issue if it ever became an issue.
Right.
I think if these handlers kept those pigeons the way they should keep them, it'd never be an issue. But it's like anything.
Well, part of it, I think, my sense from the issue that came before us was because people who don't keep pigeons don't know anything about keeping them, so they
Right.
don't understand the whole thing, and,
Yeah.
and it's new, and it's, like going to be a problem or is perceived as a problem.
Well,
So,
except when they're out flying, they shouldn't even know they're there, except,
Right.
they're pigeons don't make a lot of noise.
Right.
They have a very,
Right.
like a mourning dove.
Yeah.
That's sort of a coo,
Mhm.
very, very low sound.
but they do fly them, I mean, and
They
they should
fly,
fly.
yes, but when they're out flying, the only time they'd be low would be when they were coming in or going out.
Right.
So they shouldn't be, they shouldn't be sitting in trees or anything like that. If they're doing that, then the handler is not practicing proper husbandry. Because those birds, when they're let out, should be hungry.
Right,
They
right.
know when they go out, they'll exercise, and then they know as soon as they come back into the loft, they're fed.
right, right,
They're conditioned that way.
remember that, yeah.
People are also that way. Uh, Okay. Way it's worded, I am.
Okay,
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Okay, let's go to number 2 here.
Okay, so that was the real big issue, I think, that kind of caught my attention,
Okay.
where this original setbacks are really very arbitrary. I didn't see any health reason whatsoever for those setbacks.
okay,
The only remote one might be wetland.
Right.
But even that, if loft or coop is maintained properly, shouldn't be any contamination outside the coop or the loft or the aviary.
Okay,
However, I think in accordance with town wetland rules, I think it has to be within 100 feet. So
Right.
you certainly want to maintain that setback. So like I said, I looked over those setbacks for the town with regard to a shed, and they looked very acceptable to keeping chickens. So that was my reason for going over there to the building inspector and getting a copy of their shed rules.
appreciate that. Any comments, anyone? Okay. Construction of building. It's number 3 that you gather. How's that look for people?
I appreciate your comments too, Barry, if you, you're out there on the field looking at these buildings. So
Yes.
kind of already know what's out there.
I don't see any problem with 3. It's pretty much the
Okay.
same, just worded better.
Charlie, Eric, anything? Looks
It's fine to me.
looks fine to me. It's well written. Thank you. We have number 4,
That's fine. It's just saying why they should be screened.
it's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Okay, 5, maintenance. That's often an issue sometimes with, that we come across with animals.
Whitewashing, what was that all?
There should be no odor from a
Right.
well-kept
Uh-huh.
coop.
Right.
Really, no odor.
So what was whitewashing? Is that something back
I
in the
don't know where
day?
that came from, but that's sort of passé.
Right.
Nobody uses whitewash anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Except politicians.
Oh, well, that's another story. Right?
Okay. It sounds,
Okay,
okay.
so we're on to here on page
Well,
3.
number 5 basically addressed a little bit of the issue with pigeons too, where it says there should be adequate place for each bird to roost off the floor in accordance with accepted standards for good poultry husbandry. And that would apply to pigeons as well. So it's kind of covered there.
Okay,
One question on
Yes.
5, in the old regulation, you have a note, water should be covered,
Yes,
but I don't see it in your proposed changes.
It's,
Yeah, it is right there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
number 6,
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it should be in there.
yes, it is.
Yeah, and that's very important because you don't want wild birds bathing in these baths, especially with avian flu being as prevalent as it is. And that's where it's coming from, wild birds.
you've got a bath that's outside the coop.
In the aviary, there would be, occasionally they would put baths out there for proper health.
Right.
And I think I listed that here.
Right.
But that should be intermittent, not, there shouldn't be open, bathing areas all the time there, because that would promote wild birds being there and also obviously mosquitoes, that sort of thing.
Mosquitoes are the biggest issue, I think.
Well, that would be a real extreme because mosquitoes, you'd need 2 weeks of standing water, but
Right.
we're talking, we shouldn't have any standing water even at the end of the day in a aviary.
I liked your last comment about, you know, when you said it should be specified in the regulations, and it seemed to me that that would be appropriate to maybe put it at the first part.
Sure, I mean, I think that's the
Regulations.
basic premise of this whole thing,
Makes sense, yeah,
you know.
yeah. And respectful of
And I
the
think
neighborhood.
we should establish that fact as far as neighbor compliance right at the beginning of the
Right.
permitting process.
Right.
Sure.
There's been an emphasis on keeping the poultry healthy. What about the issue of slaughtering?
Slaughtering,
Yeah, so if someone comes into town here, how do they know about it? Because we have a lot of regulations with slaughtering. Just think about it yourself. If you're moving in town, you don't know anything about poultry and you're gonna have a coop, how do you learn about what you could do and could not do on the premises?
That-
well, I mean, obviously, you're gonna run into issues where you would have to euthanize a bird, or you would kill a bird for food.
Sure.
Yeah, so it would have to be done humanely, obviously. I mean, if it's a pet chicken, there are obviously chemical means of euthanizing birds, but if it's for consumption, obviously that's not an option.
Right.
So that would involve decapitation in most cases.
Some other bodily fluids is involved, so
But that wouldn't be a real messy process. It just might be provocative for the neighbors. So I guess that's the only issue that you could run into.
Do we have to address it in this?
I don't know if we have to address it. It's not addressed anywhere, in the previous regulation.
no, it's not. Yeah.
I don't
no,
know if we need to address it.
I just thought of it.
Opening another can of worms, I think.
Yeah,
There are regulations elsewhere, though, for different kind of animals. I mean, I know they have trucks come in, take care of it for people.
Well, that's more of a
Yes.
commercial
right,
type.
right.
Yeah, some of the small farms and all.
You've got a
but-
sick chicken. And, it's, I don't know if you. I suppose you could outline a plan, but I might get a little bureaucratic to get into all that.
Yeah, I'm not proposing it. I'm just
Yeah.
curious of, once again, it's the issue of people moving into town, new at something,
What do you think, Charlie?
give them some guidance, that's all.
What do you think?
I think as far as any of this goes, anybody wants to get a permit I just go one-on-one with them. I tell them I wouldn't go back to all kinds of regulations. I'd go see what they're doing. See how well they're educated they are and what they're doing, how many birds they got,
Well, I agree, and I tried to keep it
Yeah.
sort of slanted
Yeah,
that way.
that's what I do. It's just good, one at a time, it's,
I think Barry's got a pretty good sense.
Do you do
Ah,
go out
yeah.
when if someone were to apply, you would go out and
Yes, ma'am.
see it up in person?
just don't
Okay.
wanna
We
overregulate.
go see the property, we go check everything.
Right.
Make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, certainly
have
wanna
proper-
encourage people to be doing this.
I mean, I didn't specify it, but I don't think anybody wants to come to Town of Yarmouth to raise chicken. I mean, if it's a byproduct of, having a little project for the family, then that's sort of where I was coming from when I
Right.
did these.
Right.
But I hope somebody wouldn't be moving to Yarmouth with the idea that they're gonna be a
Chicken farmer.
Frank Purdue,
They'd have to go through the zoning for that.
or, yeah.
They'd have to
yeah.
go through zoning.
Now you probably have to buy a lot of estrogen, and so that can be expensive. So,
And that's why I don't think that, from that premise, I don't think we should even address the issues of other livestock in the town, because I'm not sure unless you have quite an acreage, you'd be wanting to move to Yarmouth to raise pigs or sheep or goats or horses or anything else. I think that would definitely you're opening up a whole other can of worms when you get into that, as you guys found out
Yep.
a few months ago with the horse farm. I don't even think I'd want to go there.
Well,
Okay.
this is Pole Street, so.
okay, so I guess it falls upon you, Barry, to kind of put it together in a written form, okay, a little bit, just that it's totally finalized. If someone wants to vote on it at this point, we certainly can.
The only thing I didn't add, Barry, was the last couple of pages were boilerplate
Right,
town regulations that I didn't think needed to be changed, and nobody reads them anyway, so, but you've got them there if you need them.
We can add those at the end and then.
Yeah,
I move that we accept the changes proposed by Larry and Barry, who worked together to review and revise our regulations governing poultry.
Have a second from anyone?
Second.
You're okay. Any further discussion? See, there's none. All in favor, just raise your hand and say aye.
I,
Unanimous, fine. Okay, thanks for all the help, Larry
Thank you,
and
Larry.
Barry.
Thank
it's a lot of fun, actually.
Thank you, Larry.
Are you gonna, hopefully we won't drop the bottom out of the egg market. No regulation.
Or how to prepare the pigeons for dinner. I mean, I don't know whether you go,
Wouldn't even go there. But speak from experience, like rubber. Don't want to eat it.
even a lot of butter and cream with a French approach to it, no, doesn't work.
Might be able to boil it for a couple of days and then throw the bird away and make the soup.
With a good wine, probably. A full-bodied red or, yeah,
That's, I shouldn't be joking about that.
that's what we're partially here for.
That's sacrilegious.
Keeps everyone here. Okay, number 5 is a migrant update. And once again, that's at Harborside Suites, over on 28. So, Barry, anything for an update there?
Yeah, I went by this afternoon or this morning. It's still, they have one extra person now. The lady who went to Boston to have her baby had a healthy baby. She's back with her child, so they're at 112 now. So the same amount of units. We did drop off, there was the rec department and a couple other departments had a bunch of fleece hats and some fleece pullovers that we donated from the town. We donated to the residents there, which was very nice.
excuse me, are they accepting clothing?
Yes, they're
donations?
accepting, every day there's somebody new dropping off
Okay,
stuff
good.
for them. The town is being very accommodating and accepting. It's amazing how many people are reaching out to them. On Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays, there's 4 volunteers that teach English. I stopped by the other day and there had been 15, 20 people in there learning and this basic stuff like one of the things was town hall. They're like, what do you do at town hall? I was like, well, you guys come see me. And I told them all what we do at town hall, what they can expect if they come down here to town hall for anything. So that was good. I did meet with the National Guard again today. No updates on changes or anything like that of departure dates as of right now. I know there is another ZBA meeting, March 28th. That's going to be addressing the issue. So that's with the ZBA, not the Board of Health. So
So just so people know, that's the zoning board.
yeah, Zoning Board of Appeals.
But we're still looking at the folks being moved out by the end of the month.
I have not heard anything yet. I don't think we have heard anything yet. It's that the state government. They kind of wishy-washy on some stuff. So I'm not for sure when a tentative date is
Okay.
that they're being relocated. But when I was there today, there was 4 people there from the state passing out all sorts of different forms that they're having to fill out for the kind of, if the process, when it comes, it will happen. They're getting all their paperwork together, so.
Well, Barry, isn't there a specific date that Harbor Suites requires them to be out? So they
That's-
can-
That's through the ZBA.
Pardon?
That's through the ZBA and I think they're coming back, like, again, they're coming back March 28th into the ZBA, their attorneys and the town will meet again, so.
Because, Jay sent that email and said that Harbor Suites was going to start booking
Right,
people
right.
Yeah, they're wanting to get ready for their season for
or some.
tourists,
yeah.
so.
Okay,
Yep, good.
Okay. And number 6 here on the agenda is COVID update.
Oh, good. I think we have a hand up.
Oh,
Right.
please speak up. Someone zooming in with a question or by phone?
Nope.
Did someone see someone? There we
See.
go. Yes.
Yeah, Mr.
Hi.
Chairman, thank you very much. I just wanted to let the board know in the technical room that there's no audio on channel 8. So thank God for the Zoom, the people can participate. For some reason, there's no audio on the channel 8. So sorry to interrupt your meeting. You guys having a good meeting. And I agree with everybody. I don't think anybody's coming to Yarmouth to raise chickens.
Okay,
Thank you.
nice to hear from you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else out there? Okay, so a COVID update.
Yeah, we got some COVID updates. Last month, 128 to 224. Yarmouth was at 11.32% positivity rate with 37 positive cases. The county was at 11.13. The state was at 7.92. The last 2 weeks, 211 through 224, it went down a little bit. Yarmouth was 9.5% with 10 positives. The county was 9.83 positivity rate. The state was at 6.82 with a positivity rate. And just last week, Yarmouth 8.6 positivity rate, less than 5 positives. The county was at 9.24 and the state was at 6.18. So it is going down a little bit. There is some new CDC regulations. I did give you guys each one of these. I'm just going to read this. Last Friday, the top of health officials announced new policies facing on actions people can take to reduce spreading of variety of common respiratory issues such as influenza, respiratory RBS, and COVID-19. Friday's guidance, CDC officials said it's meant to target the respiratory issues more broadly than the flu, COVID-19. All have similar symptoms such as cough, fever, and have similar means of spread or required the same protection. The CDC is recommending that people who test positive for coronavirus should base their isolation period on a clinical system. The CDC does not recommend testing as a standard deciding when someone is no longer contagious, in part because the CDC surveys show fewer people use at-home test kits. They have symptoms, according to Dr. Brennan Jackson, who leads the virus respiratory for CDC National Center for Immunization. Basically, Americans can return to public life if they have been fever-free for at least 24 hours and symptoms are improving regardless of positive tests. Agency officials told reports on Friday. When they return to normal activities, the CDC recommends people to use preventive strategies for the next 5 days. This includes limiting close contact with others, enhancing hygiene like hand washing, improving ventilation, masking, testing as needed. Anyone who has respiratory illnesses, a cough, stuffy nose, often a fever, should assume they have COVID-19, the flu, or RSV. So the 5-day mandatory is not in place anymore. It goes by how you're feeling and right now. So which
Fever
is
and
good.
symptoms, yeah.
Typical cold, flu. There's some nasty stuff going on right now. So if you're not feeling good, stay home.
And I just, my husband just read, and I'm sorry, I didn't read the actual article, but there's been a recommendation from somebody, I'm not sure it's CDC, Hillary, for people who have gone 4 months, at least 4 months past the latest COVID vaccine, that they get revaccinated.
Yes, I mean, I think last time I read it was like 20,000 people in the country are still getting hospitalized. Well, and the majority of them people who are not up to date with their vaccinations and looking 4 months back, it's sort of what we're looking at.
So the 4 months revaccinating is to protect the people who are getting vaccinated, but are around people who have not been vaccinated and are still spreading the COVID.
Yeah. There was an interesting article recently, last couple of weeks in New England Journal of Medicine, and they're studying cognitive problems. There are people who have had COVID, cognitive meaning they're having brain function problems. And some of them are gone on for a long time. They're not sure who gets it and who doesn't after COVID. Certainly, a lot of organs can be affected by a COVID and, infection, but they're seeing numbers, significant ones with people having some brain function problems due to this virus. There's really no treatment for it. It could be pretty awful. So it's less likely to have it if you're vaccinated. That's all.
The insidious.
Anyone else? If not, we can move ahead to new and old business.
So our student liaison, again, unfortunately wasn't able to make it this week. We're still trying to be in touch with them. We're trying to get one male, one female, again, as representation from the DY high school, as just get a youth prospect, eyes on how the health department works in the town, which is going to be it's going to be a good program once it gets going and we can get someone in here. So, we're very excited about that. Some other new business, there might be some hoarding issues brought in front of the board in the near future. We have a couple issues that are in the court systems right now. We haven't done anything common in nation yet, but it might come up. Just to let you know that we do have a couple serious hoarding situations in town that might come in front of the board in the near future. So they are working with the county, Cape Cod Hoarding Task Force, both residences that are helping them. It's a program called Buried Treasures. It meets once a week to help people that have issues collecting stuff. So it's a great program. So both of these homes that we are dealing with right now are working with the Cape Cod Hoarding Task Force and some other programs like CORD to get help to release some of the stress from their situations in their home. So
Yeah, these people have some significant health problems, and there's more out there than we think. Very often we find them out because the police go for some other reason and see what's
that's how
going
we
on.
find out about a lot of them. So
Yeah. See what's in somebody's backyard or their house or whatever, or EMS gets called for a reason to the location.
Get in. Yeah.
I think
Uh,
to you and I, a 2020 Stop and Shop flyer is garbage, but to somebody else, it's necessary to keep and might need it. So that's that's the stuff we come up across. So it's a sad situations.
As for next meeting, I know I'm not available 2 weeks from tonight for whatever date that would be. Was it the 18th? So just about scheduling. I don't know if that's going to affect what you want to do about the next meeting or not.
How much do you have on your table for us?
I do not know what we have.
Mhm.
There might be something from Hazmat from Carl.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's the next meeting or the following one after that. So it's not there's nothing big issues that I know of right now. So
Mary, what do you think?
I mean, I think we could skip the meeting, but I'm certainly willing to, to chair the meeting if we have something that comes up that has to be met about.
Okay. And if
Okay.
not, when do you want to schedule the meeting for then? So March is 11th, 18th, 25th, and then it's April 1st. Those are the Mondays coming up.
April Fool's Day. Yep.
Yeah? Okay, it's fine with me.
do it April 1st be the next meeting.
Right.
Okay. People okay with that? Okay. Okay, that's just so you don't have any new or old business, Barry?
That was it.
Nothing?
That was the
Nothing
new
else?
business and
Nothing else. Okay. And then let's go to number 8 for an adjournment. Come on, someone go for it.
Move we adjourn.
Second,
A second.
right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Minute since I've been in here. Said I've got to remember to stay quiet. I apologize.